Aloha kākou pau. We open with an oli that acknowledges that each of us, as we go back through the generations, are ultimately related to each other. Our ancestors have brought us forward to this time and place, and we are united by aloha. Another word that holds the meaning of aloha in greeting is velina. So in the hula, velina maine, we call velina to you, and in the dance, offer the highest expression of ancient Hawaiian hospitality. A drink of ava, that drink prepared from the roots of the ava plant. Not a fermented alcoholic drink, but one of great therapeutic value. It relaxes the major voluntary muscles and keeps the mind sharp and receptive. Thus, it was a favorite for hard laborers, as well as the priestly professions, who required that sharp-minded reception to assess the needs of the universe around them. In the hula, ava is offered to the god of fresh water, Kame, who brings life. And as he rests his head in the clouds, we greet you. Velina maine e kini o lalo.
Velina maine e kini o lalo.
Velina maine e kini o lalo. Na o a o kauka na ele o puna kai ka no.
So on this day, we celebrate a changing of seasons, marked by the sun, the astronomical timekeeper known by ancient people around the world. Without fail, the cyclic march of the sun's course over the year means that on specific days, the sun will rise or set at a particular landmark when seen from a prescribed spot. And near this spot stood the heiau Pu'u, sister heiau to Papa Ena Ena that overlooked Waikiki from the foot of Pu'u, or diamond head as it's called today. At Pu'u, observances of the year's changing seasons were made at its pu'ahu, or altar, called Opunaha. As we gather today to make our observances from this ancient site, we begin with a call to the Pinia Pua, the uncountable manifestations of a Pua in the universe.
Yeah.
Pu'u govern the passing of each day, the cycle of the moon, the slow changes across the year. The Pu'u, the myriad gods that we addressed in that short chant, are themselves manifestations of the four major Hawaiian gods of ancient times. Kane, the god of fresh water flowing through, over, and under the ground. Kanaloa, god of the sea. Pu'u, god of governance, persistence, and rigor. And Lono, god of peace, leniency, and fertility. Furthermore, Pu'u and Lono, between them, encompass the Hawaiian year, with Pu'u holding sway over the hot summer months and Lono dominating the cooler, wet winter months. We have been in the season of Ho'oilo, the so-called Hawaiian winter, when rains are typically more frequent and the days and nights are cooler. It's marked by the Makahiki, a time of peace, a celebration of the god Lono, a god of fertility of the land and people. As his season passes, we acknowledge his recent prominence with the Makahiki chant to Lono. In the chant just presented you, were named the many cloud forms of Lono, the long cloud, the short cloud, the clouds that build high and those that peak through. And if you recall the unstable winter storm days of the past months, you'll see that what was chanted is what we all see during the winter, what meteorologists call multiple étages, multiple layers of clouds of different types simultaneously in unstable moving air. And later in the chant, reference to the great banner of the Makahiki, the staff of Lono, with its brilliant white hanging kapa, and topping it all, the pale-eyed Makayuva Lono image, a magnificent figure towering over the Makahiki processions and games. So the line of chant says, Amo amo kia kuala au o Lono. Splendid is the great wooden figure of Lono. Toward the end of the season of Lono is a time of atonement, where the shortcomings of leaders is acknowledged and forgiven, and all haulia or defilements of the heiau are cleansed, and their papu restored as spiritual faults are taken away by Lono. This half year of spiritual cleansing is necessary balance against what is to follow, because in contrast to the winter season of Lono, where governance was relaxed and warfare was forbidden, the hot summer season of Kauwela is a time for chiefly action and for the reactivation of the temples of the chiefs called Luakini. These heiau were dedicated to Pu'u, god of warfare and chiefly governance. One of these Luahini heiau that once occupied this spot was called Pu'u. Everybody say Pu'u. Pa'alaha means to extend broadly, so Pu'u is a very appropriate name for the main Luakini heiau of the Ali'i Nui of Oahu, whose influence and command must extend broadly across all the districts of the island. One of the symbols of the kapu of the Luakini is set up this time of year, the lepa'ula, the red banner, signifying the season of Pu'u. Although none of these banners is preserved from those times, and we only have a general description of them, Hawaiian kapa making is expanding today, and one kapa practitioner, A'ia Ibelo, created the kapa banner for us and guided the traditional fashion with the red of the noni plant and the alaya, the red earth prominent. Imagine the lepa'ula, if you will, set high on the massive stone platform of Pu'u heiau, marking the advent of the season of Pu'u, returning to the island of Oahu. For Pu'u is the god of Ali'i, chiefs, and koa, warriors. And one of the most famous of Ali'i koa was Malani o Pu'u, the paramount chief of the island of Hawaii in the time when Kamehameha was young. He was a formidable Ali'i koa, trained in the deadly art of lua, the secret Hawaiian martial art, once restricted only to chiefly retinues. The secret holds and attacks of the Lua had names, sometimes beautiful names, that belie the deadly effects of the moves. One account tells of when Kalani o Pu'u, in his prime, was attacked simultaneously by two formidable warriors, and using only his bare hands, he dispatched both of them while chanting the moves that killed them. Ironically, the chant includes many images of the sun setting, even though it was midday. For as indeed the end of the light that Kalani o Pu'u brought to the two who attacked him. His words have been immortalized in chant. He moku Kauwela ni hoa me ni ihau. Kauwela is an island along with Nihoa and Ni'ihau. Kauwala'i Kauai hoa kane. The serene rain falls at Kauai hoa kane. Kauwanakala I halali'i. The sun is setting at Halali. Hala kala kau makekua ole hua. The sun passes away on the back of the hua. Kau kamo lehu lehu piahi ahi. The dusk of the evening comes. Boy no Kauai, inau kala. Hawaii lies prostrate, although the sun is high. Eauana lehua I kalai, and lehua is shining in the car. Imagine dying at the hands of a warrior who is chanting the motions that cause your demise. Well, those words come forward from the 1700s to today in chant and in hula, and we share the hula with you now. E motu ta'ula ihoa meni ihau.
Hey, motu Kauwela ni hoa me ni ihau. Hey, motu.
The mana, the spiritual power imbued upon the high chiefs of Hawaii, is likened to the powerful elements of nature, and the most exalted of the many manifestations of Pu'u is Pu'u, who resides in the highest strata of the atmosphere and is the head of all of the Pu'u gods. Pu'u is the paramount Pu'u, and thus the god of the highest ranking chiefs, and the Kauwela is his species. This Pu'u offers a sacrifice, a willful rebel to the land, and a breaker of custom, a Ipi'aina, the most serious threat to chiefly government. pule to Pu'u in his season, presented for the high chief of the Luakini, and accompanied by offering up a traitor to the rule of the chief. And speaking of rebels, in the mid-1600s, during the reign of Kauwela, one of the most famous chiefs of this island of Oahu, whose center of governance was here in Waikiki, an amazing battle occurred in which the heiau of Hui Kauwela figures prominently. And at the heart of this battle was a man named Kapo'i, who lived in Honolulu, near the slopes of Pu'u, which is called Punch Bowl Crater today. Kapo'i lived in a place called Kahehuna in the uplands of Honolulu, long before the arrival of Captain Cook, in the days when there were far fewer people living here, and the area was vegetated in dry forests, shrublands, and fields of pili grass. During an errand gathering pili grass to re-thatch his house on the slopes of Pu'u, he found the eggs of a pu'u, that's our native owl, in a nest in the grass, and he gathered the eggs, 7 of them, with the intent of having them for dinner when he got home. But when he was preparing the cooking fire in his house, an owl landed on the fence at the entrance of his house and called, "Eh, kapo, eh ho meia uhua," that is, "Eh kapo, give me my eggs." Now, if an owl landed outside my door and asked me to do something, anything actually, I'd probably be inclined to obey, but not Kapo'i. Instead of saying yes or no, Kapo'i inquires, "How many eggs?" It's a test of sorts, like the question you might ask somebody after you announce that you found a lost watch. And somebody comes to claim it and you say, "What color is your watch?" Go back to Kapo'i. "Eia maukua," how many eggs, she asks. "Hehua hiku," 7 eggs, answered the owl immediately. Now Kapo'i knows this isn't a kua, not to be trifled with. But now Kapo'i tries something else. He says, "I'm hungry, and I wish to broil these eggs for my dinner." The owl repeats his command. "E ho mea uhua e Kapo'i." Kapo'i tries one last time. "I want to broil these eggs for my dinner." Finally, the whale tells him, "E aloha ole, you are heartless, Kapo'i, if you do not return my eggs." And at that, Kapo'i relents and tells the owl, "Come fetch your eggs." Now, Kapo'i, like all Kanaka, was raised and taught to recognize and obey his aumakua, his family gods, and to know the forms that they would take in the material world to communicate their needs with him. Perhaps a particular shark in a familiar fishing ground, and he would be sure to care for and see to the needs of his aumakua. But this owl that appears at his door, this surely was a physical manifestation of a god, since it talked to him. But he certainly did not recognize this new supernatural presence in his life. How could he know if it was benign, or perhaps meant ill for him? Perhaps obeying was not what he should be doing. But being well trained in courtesy to his aumakua, Kapo'i would not be so foolish as to outright deny the request. Instead, he first assesses the ability of the akua to see and speak the truth by asking how many eggs he had found, and after hearing the correct answer, made a strategic counter-suggestion, voicing his intentions. But why would one avoid obeying the first command of a strange akua? The fact is, if he obeys the akua, he has accepted the akua as his and must thenceforth obey every subsequent command. Who knows what this new akua might ask of him? How would that change his life? But when the owl scolds Kapo'i for being heartless, it's just too much. Humans who deny the gods often come to very ill ends, and so Kapo'i relents, even though he knows he will now have to be obedient to this new owl akua. And sure enough, the pu'u orders Kapo'i to build a heiau, a large stone temple, and to erect an altar and an offering platform, and to name this new heiau Manu'a, the word means piled up or accumulated. Kapo'i builds the heiau, sanctifies it, places it under kapu, making proper offerings upon the platform, and after the rites were observed properly, he lifts the kapu. Well, word of this spread, and the high chief Kauwela, king of all of the island of Oahu, was told of this Kapo'i and his actions while he was at his beach compound in Waikiki, probably somewhere right around here. He heard that Kapo'i had built a heiau and conducted the rites, placing kapu on it and making offerings and then lifting the kapu. At that time, it was a decreed law. If any chief or indeed any person built a heiau and placed kapu upon it and lifted the kapu while the heiau of the ruling chief was still under kapu and the rites not yet completed, that is the action of a pi'iaiku, a willful rebel, and the punishment was death and sacrifice upon the Luakini heiau. Therefore, Kapo'i was arrested as a kapu violator and led to Waikiki to the heiau of Kupalaha. Yes, the very same heiau that occupied our location here today. He would be sacrificed as a lawbreaker to sanctify the heiau for the season of Ku. In other words, it's likely that at this spot, at this time of year, over 450 years ago, Kapo'i would have been held captive, awaiting his death. But as that day approached, an amazing thing happened. The owls of Hawaii, Lanai, Maui, and Molokai flew to Oahu and gathered at Kalapueo in the vicinity of Makapu'u. The owls of Oahu grouped themselves at Kanonea Kapueo in Nu'uanu, and the owls of Kauai and Ni'ihau all gathered at Pu'eo Hulunui near Moanalua. The day arrived when Kapo'i was to be sacrificed and put on the platform. But as the dawn broke, the light of the emerging sun was completely blocked by huge numbers of owls in the air. The owls flew in and clawed at the faces of Kakuhihepa's warriors, at their eyes and their noses, and they defiled the army of Kakuhihepa, showering them with their droppings. To this day, the place just down the road here is called Kukai Unahi o Kapueo, the scaly droppings of the owl. The owls were victorious over the men of Kakuhihepa. But Kakuhihepa was not some evil chief. Indeed, his action to arrest and sacrifice Kapo'i for violation of Kapu was his proper duty. To fail to act would itself be a break of Kapu, and Kakuhihepa himself would be forfeit in the eyes of his gods. Kakuhihepa, though, recognized from the battle that Kapo'i had not been willfully disobeying him, but only showing obedience to a higher authority. And he told Kapo'i, "You have an akua of great money." So Kapo'i was spared, rescued from certain death, and the mana was conferred upon the deified owl, and the owl god's name is Hui Kauwela. The story of Kapo'i and Hui Kauwela is one of those that was once very well known, so that if an owl was seen in the skies of Oahu, the thoughts would immediately go to the Luakini and the rescue of Kapo'i from certain death. In fact, these beings find their way into an old chant of healing called A'aimano that we want to share with you today. It is a chant for someone who is gravely ill, and no matter who we are, we have such people among our family and circle of friends. So as we offer this chant, we ask you to participate by selecting in your mind someone you know who needs healing. For the very first line of this short chant, A'aimano Imoneo Kapueo Kanimayanao Konaluakini, comes allusions to the Kapo'i story. The Noonea Kapueo echoes the place name Kanonea Kapueo in Nu'uanu Valley, where the owls of the island gathered preparing to rescue Kapo'i from death. The Luakini heiau is also mentioned, and it's not clarified at all whether this is the heiau that Kawakai the owl commanded Kapo'i to build, or the luakini of Pu'u that once stood here where Kapo'i was being held in preparation for sacrifice. The middle line of the chant, Ina e ke kabali, ikilele na ohanae, translates to, if the child is abnormal, the whole family becomes perturbed. And in this case, the whole family does not stop at the living members, but extends back to the Amapua, the family ancestral deity, to whom the prayer is directed. So within this chant of healing hides the story of Kapo'i, and it points to how, in Hawaiian stories, prayers, and songs, the untold backstory is extremely important, and how mastery of the integrated Hawaiian knowledge system would require learning much more than a single discipline. Today, as we stand at this site, once occupied by Kupalaha, no vestige remains of the heiau. The winds of change have blown the physical vestiges away. Yet the land persists, the mo'olelo of this place persists, and we persist, honoring and remembering. Our offering to these memories and to our kupuna today invokes spirit that will always be. This is why we come here every year, so the hidden stories of the land are not forgotten, and why, just a few weekends ago, we gathered at the windy precipice of Nu'uanupali to commemorate the 230th year of the famous Battle of Nu'uanu, in which Kamehameha the Great defeated the occupying forces of Kalani'upu'ule of Maui and took control of Oahu. It was the last battle for the unification of the islands and a pivotal moment in Hawaiian history. On some of the commemorations in years back, it was particularly windy, and up at the pali, a place already famous for the wind, it can be howling, driving the chill of the misty pre-dawn rain as an intense blessing of awesome natural mana. It was not easy to be there. It's not a thing an undedicated person might select to do. But even during the pandemic years, a small group of us went up each year on the proper day. And why did we brave the elements and arise to gather in the cold pre-dawn? It's our commitment to give proper recognition to that wahipana, that storied place, and the momentous movements of history that culminated there, that shaped who we are today. While many would discard and ignore the past and move with ignorance into the future, we choose to hold tightly, tenaciously, to the lands and to the practices that make us who we are. We choose not to discard that which is fundamentally important, but to hold tight. Au'a is the word for holding tight. Ua au'a iai kamokui kamhuliao. We hold fast to the lands in times of change. Ua ha'imaila na mealo e au ua au'a ke kahuna I ka ike. Wise ones share this proverb. The priests hold tightly to knowledge. No laila pono kapu I au'a I ka loina kupuna, ka ola na makuhine, ka hana mo o mehenu I aho I amailai. So it's only right that we all hold firmly to the customs of our elders, the mother tongue, and the traditional practices we have been taught. This is the sentiment of our gathering here today at another wahipana. Once the temple of the great chief of Oahu, we hold firm to the memory and share that memory with you. Here is a hula that expresses this sentiment and is appropriately called Au'a'ia, holding fast, and we offer it to you now. From here on the island of Oahu, the islands to the west of us, Hawaii, Niihau, and Little Lehua Island, are not visible under normal conditions. Yet these are the last islands to see the setting sun. So that one of the classic statements you hear in traditional phrases is, "Mai ka hiki na akala i ha'e ha'e, ai ke kaula nai ka mole odu o lehua." From the rising of the sun at Ha'e, the easternmost land division of the easternmost island, Hawaii, to the setting of the pleasant base of Lehua Island, the westernmost island in the main Hawaiian chain. Sun rises and sun sets are particularly important demarcations of time. The navigator pays special attention to the rising and setting of not only the sun, but the moon and the individual stars. And today's setting marks an important transition in the dichotomy of the Hawaiian year. You might be familiar with the well-known chant to the rising sun, E Alae. Translated, the chant says, "Arise, O sun, in the east, from the ocean so deep, climb into the heights. There in the east is the sun, arise, E Alae." But sunsets are important too, and there are several recorded chants to the setting sun. One that we want to share with you now comes from Kauai, Niihau, and Lehua Island, since those islands are the westernmost and the last to see the sun before day leaves the archipelago. The lines of the chant are fascinating to consider. Hiki mai kala, approaching, the sun is approaching. Aloha vale kala e kaine, send aloha to the sun that is setting now. Aiya malalo i Kauai, there in the west at Kauai Point, the southern and westernmost point of Niihau. Akalalo o Kauai wa Lehua, and due west of Kauai is Lehua Island. A Kauai au kike kapali, and here I am on Kauai, gazing at the cliffs. A Miloli'i, ale kapali loa, of the cliffs of Miloli'i, which shield from view the long cliff region of western Kauai, a region called naturally Na'apali, the cliffs. E koloana I kapali o Makuaiki, the cliffs of Makuaiki are crawling. Kolo o Pu'u, he keiki, the clouds are crawling like a child. He keiki makua ole, te ue ne, a child alone, without parents, that is crying. One can picture a cloud offshore, raining into the sea, backlit by the setting sun, inspiring that poetic expression. So let's hear how this chant goes. But now, as the sun is lowering, looking to the west, we can see the low profile of the cinder cone Pu'u Kauwela, into which the sun will set today. Then rises the gentle slope of Makapilo and the peaks of the southern Wai'anae Mountains after them, Manakapu, Malehua, and Malukea. As we draw closer to the time of sunset, let me share that in Hawaiian thought, each day begins with the night before it. Thus the days are referred to in terms of nights. Po. Po is the word for night or dark. And po akahi, for example, is Monday, the first night. Thus as sunset approaches, we prepare for the first po of the new season of Kauwela. The sunset chant that we offer today requires your participation because it is a call and reply silent chant. And replies are short and simple. So we would like you to take a moment to learn them and help us with the protocol today. Can you do that for us? Why not? Mahalo to the Waikiki Aquarium staff for making this chart to help us learn. We will take it off the tree and bring it closer to you so that you can see it. We'll do a dry run of the thing in its entirety. Does it have to translate it right now? Okay, then I have to translate. The first line says, "Te aui ne kala," the sun is lowering. And velo, velo is your response, which means sinking, sinking. Te mo lehu lehu maine, dusk is approaching. And the response is, nakolo, nakolo, crawling, crawling. Okana po'o ana ilalo, descending below. Ikamole o lehua is your reply to the root of Lehua Island. Ma'alihilani at the horizon. Emoy, emoy, go to sleep, go to sleep. And then it ends with all of us chanting the last portion. Alohae kukulu kanani, aloha to the pillars of the heavens. Alohae kukulu kahorua, aloha to the foundation of the world. Aue, anu anu o umauivi hilone. Alas, chilled to the core am I. So that's what you're chanting, that's what it means. So we're gonna do a dry run with the chanters showing how the reply goes, okay? And then we're gonna ask you to help us with that. So here's the dry run. Now the fun thing is, you start this chant when the sun tip hits the horizon. And you do the chant slowly, so the sun is slowly disappearing as the chant progresses. And if you time it just right, the sun will disappear in a little green flash at the very end of the chant. when people are nervous, they tend to go too fast. And so, in years past, I've noticed we finish all of the chant and response lines, and the song is only halfway done. So I just go to the top again and start it all over again. So if that happens, be flexible. So we're gonna try it again, and now, folks, you can see it better on that side. I'm gonna count on you to be the main response. You guys can saw your mouths moving anyway. You know, the nice thing is I saw a few people swaying to it, and that's exactly what the beat makes you do. So now we're going to go to this side. You guys got a chance to practice it. What we're going to do when the time comes, we're all going to go down to the ocean's edge. Jack will come with us so that you can still see the words. And then we're going to cluster together so that the voices are stronger together. And we'll all chant to the setting sun as it sinks into the cone of Pu'u Kauwela. I mentioned that we do this May 2nd every year, except for a leap year. And on leap year, you do it on May 1st. It's very interesting to see what the leap year does to the setting sun. What happens is, in subsequent years, we've been doing this enough times now. In subsequent years, if this is the cone of Pu'u Kauwela, the sun will set the first year here, the second year right in the middle, the third year towards the next edge, and then leap year will come and it goes right back to that first one. So you get this kind of bouncing sequence over the course of years. Today is 1 year after the leap year, so it should be pretty close to the middle of Pu'u Kauwela. The sun will move one of its diameters every 8 minutes. So the director is going like this. Like stretch it out, stretch it out, stretch it out. So we're going to practice a few more times. But everybody who is seating and who wants to join us, stand and cluster right in front. You can now come into the draft portion.
Mai hila. Moshe. Musik kapos.